Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me for the Crypto Minute. My name is Russell Shaw, Senior Market Specialist at FXCM, and my email address rshaw@fxcm.com. And of course, Wednesday, the 2nd of March, 2022. I'm just going to bring up our high-risk investment warning here. And I'm bringing up market commentaries disclaimer. And just our references. All right, here is Bitcoin. We're looking at the weekly chart of Bitcoin. I think it's worth our while looking at Ethereum as well. The idea here is that we want to watch the peaks and troughs. Something quite to me, quite strange is happening in the market. This market, I think we're going to have to watch very, very carefully. So we got trough, peak, okay. Then we have the higher trough here. And the question is, do we get the higher peak here? Now we're looking at a weekly chart. A higher peak at this stage would be very bullish. This is a very strange situation, in my opinion. And the reason I think that it is quite strange. Hey, KD, good morning to you, and nice to have you on the webinar. The reason I think it's very strange is because it's unprecedented. How this actually progresses to me seems very vague. So what's subsequently happened here is that we all know that the central bank, the Russian central bank, has been sanctioned. We know that the Russian banks have been excluded from the SWIFT system. Hey, Michael, good morning to you. There is a whole slew of sanctions that have that are targeting not only sort of the central bank and the banks themselves, which are extremely crippling. Oligarchs are being targeted. The Russian Federation's National Fund is being targeted. The finance ministry is being targeted. These are severe monetary sanctions, to the point that Bitcoin, in terms of ruble and Ukrainian currency, has picked up to levels that haven't been seen in months. It's one way for perhaps the sanctions to be bypassed, all of a sudden moving from fiat money into cryptocurrency to try and sort of get past the sanctions. And you can see that Bitcoin has responded extremely strongly this week. Let's just put this next to Ethereum. Yeah, I just want to change this chart to something a little bit more, just a little bit more vanilla. Let's take this out. Take this out. So the Ukrainians have done fairly well in mobilizing business. Yeah. So I did read the name of the Ukrainian currency. I can't pronounce it, so I kind of try to slip past that, but Anna caught me. The hryvnia. I'm assuming the H is silent. The hryvnia, the Ukrainian hryvnia. But the point is that the cryptocurrency trading in the Ukrainian hryvnia, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that well, right, trading the Russian ruble are now at levels, as I say, huge levels that really the crypto markets are being utilized in a very obvious way here. And you know, we haven't really seen this type of bypassing of sanctions previously. And the Ukrainian, Ukrainians have been fairly successful in mobilizing business, to the point that when the broadband was taken out by the Russians, we actually had Elon Musk coming to the rescue, so to speak, and providing satellite technology that gave them internet access. We've got BP that's divesting from my goodness, I can't the name of the Russian Rosneft, I think it's called. We've got Shell looking to divest. We've got MasterCard and Visa that have cut off effectively Russian banks. I saw a picture on social media where in one of the tube stations, usually Russian commuters would just use Google Pay or some sort of digital wallet. That's not working anymore. So they're actually looking for currency. There seems to be a run on banks in Russia as the ruble capitulates. And all of a sudden, we've got this huge focus now on the crypto markets. Let's close in on this level here. Let's put in our peaks and troughs, I beg your pardon, on Ethereum as well. Trough, peak. Here's the higher trough. Now, here's the higher peak. Now, this is the situation in terms of cryptos. Whilst the Ukrainian government has been fairly successful in mobilizing global business, the crypto exchanges have resisted the calls to sanction Russian nationals' accounts. In other words, Coinbase, Binance, and the other big exchanges won't cut off the Russian nationals' accounts, saying that, look, you can't, you cannot, I guess, really, you can't. What's the right word that I'm looking for? You can't impose sanctions on ordinary Russians because of, I guess, what the government's doing. I mean, truth is, there has been some demonstrations in Russia against the against the Putin government. But what I think the big question mark here for me, Anna says maybe the exchanges are scared of Russian hackers. I'm not sure that's it. I think the whole point of cryptos, and this is really what the exchanges have said, is that it's meant to bypass regulation. You know, it's meant to bypass regulation. Submitting to some sort of regulation would be the antithesis of what cryptos is all about. Now, if there is some sort of legal requirement, now this is the big question mark here. If there's some sort of legal requirement where they do need to sanction the Russian accounts, of course they will comply. So the idea is, does this this is the question, and I don't have the answer for it. Does this fast track regulation of cryptocurrencies? Because it does seem this is the this is the loophole in the sanctions, right? If you want to bypass sanctions, this is probably the easiest way to do it. Does that mean that cryptos are now sort of in the crosshairs regulators. So that's one question we need to ask. Incidentally, Anna, something sort of unrelated, but just in terms of your comment, the decentralized hacking group, Anonymous, has declared a cyber war on Russia, which is just interesting as well, isn't it? But just sort of in response to the comment that maybe the exchanges are scared of the Russian hackers. I mean, that could be an element to it, but I think it's really the whole point of cryptos is to bypass that regulatory holdup or the regulatory enforcement, as long as it's not illegal, so to speak. So if there's a legal requirement to impose restrictions, they will comply. In fact, to the point that the sanctioned oligarchs or the sanctioned individuals, those individuals have been, as far as I understand, frozen on the crypto exchanges, but not more than that. So it's a very interesting situation. It's unprecedented. How it plays out is going to be one for the history books. I think we'll all talk about this in years to come. What we do see here: higher trough, potential higher peak. Take a look at the stochastics. The Bitcoin stochastic certainly has moved up fairly aggressively, so it's moved out of its quintile. The question is, does it get to this point? Because then we're going to have the higher peak, and then the downtrend that we've been seeing is now turned into an uptrend. Similarly, we can watch this in terms of Ethereum. Let me just see. I think I've missed a few questions here. Let me just see. Why do I think price has stalled and not continue to go up? I think that's a very good question, Anna. Let's see if we can answer that. And it's also writing as Spain has made it illegal to download any crypto apps that bypass the Know Your Client protocol, and how it's saying, given where we are, perhaps this all could have been sorted over Zoom. All right. So why has it stopped going up? I'm not sure that we have stopped going up here. Of course, let's just put some numbers out there. Let me bring up a calculator if I can, and let's just see what the cryptos have been doing since the imposition of sanctions. Okay, so let me bring this up here. All right, so let's just do some math. So the open here at 261475, 261475, and where is my calculator? All right, so it would be 2995 minus, what did I say? 2614. I think that's what I said. Equals divided by 2614. So if my that's a 14% increase this week in Ethereum, 26. Yeah. So we've got a 14%. So I don't think we have stopped going up. It's just a 14% increase in 1 week, given that it's only Wednesday, is massive, right? Let's just take a look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin opened the week at 37,561. All right, so where's my calculator? What did we say? 37,561 equals divided by 37,561 equals times 100. So you would have made 17.7%. So the idea here is we've had some incredibly large movements. Anna says if we just go down to the hourly, it seems to be showing signs of slowing down. So let's just change these down to the hourly, and you can see here, Anna, that you're quite right. There is a distinct loss of momentum. Okay, so let's just put in the trend line. So here's the first trend line. Okay, and here's the second trend line. Remember, as soon as we can draw a second trend line, it's showing that the momentum is starting to flatten out. And here is the trend line here. I actually am not able to draw a second trend line in Bitcoin. This is the highest peak here. Okay, I was able to draw a second trend line in Ethereum because we've got a higher peak there. But, so we've broken. We certainly have a loss of momentum there. There's no argument there, Anna. The key here is, well, okay, there's the loss of momentum. Do the stochastics start heading down to the 20 area? Then we'll see Bitcoin coming down. Remember, we've got 14% on Ethereum. We've got close to 18% on Bitcoin. These are huge movements. Now, let's just go back to the weekly. I don't want to get lost only in the price action for this week. There is a larger picture that we need to keep our eye on. The larger picture is, of course, well, let's understand that there has been a big movement up in Bitcoin. There has been a big movement up in Ethereum. The geopolitics escalation this week has been unbelievable. Really, it's kind of it's the kind of stuff that, I mean, we haven't seen since, you know, the 40s, you know, the 30s, 40s, like since the World War, when there's these massive convoy invasions in Europe in particular. But the idea is we've still got a downtrend, okay, since Hitler annexed Poland, correct? So the idea here is we're still in downtrend to a large extent, right? We've got this kind of let's see if we can do it with Bitcoin. I think the pattern will be clearer on the Bitcoin side. We'll deal with Ethereum in a moment. 1, 2, 2, 3. Okay. Then we have the 1, 2. Here's the 2, 3. So there's the downtrend. Okay, let's see if we can get something similar. It's very difficult to get. The peak and trough with Ethereum is slightly different. I'm going to do it like this: 1, 2, 2, 3. Okay, that's the way I see it. 1, 2. So we've got this big capitulation in Ethereum in this leg. 1, 2. Now this is the interesting part here, guys, is that this over here doesn't take out the previous trough. This low here, sorry, this impulse here doesn't take out the previous trough. But at the same time, this leg here hasn't taken out the high either. Interestingly, Howard earlier in this webinar said, is there perhaps some sort of wedge or something going on? And of course, I'm not sure if that is the case. We will know when the pattern completes. He says a pennant or a wedge, but I think the point that he's making is spot on. And the idea here is, I think we are in a pattern until we get that higher peak. So Anna saying, well, why aren't we moving higher? And Howard saying, well, are we perhaps seeing some sort of pennant? And I think that's where we are at the moment. That's why there seems to be some sort of pause on a technical basis, and perhaps perhaps the cryptos are still trending down. Perhaps. Now I don't know if we get that higher peak, then we've moved into uptrend. But these pennants, okay, these pennants tend to be continuation. They tend to be continuation patterns. In other words, if these are true pennants and they complete, they should break to the downside. And that's now, I'm not sure if that's what we're going to get. As I said right at the beginning, this is, you know, this is an unknown for me. It's unprecedented. I don't know how the regulators deal with the fact that you know, cryptos are largely a way still to move money. So the idea here is this is a market that is all of a sudden become almost a focal point because it is the way to bypass the sanctions. So the way that I'm personally looking at cryptos has changed immensely in about a week. In about a week, this has become, I think, a hugely important market just to see how this conflict plays out. So let's just keep an eye on the on this. I'm going to call it a pennant for now, and I'm going to say subject to correction. And the idea here is the oil market, which we spoke about in our last, the oil market, which we spoke about in our last webinar, I think actually factors into this. Yeah, it's exceptionally fascinating, Anna. Remember, we looked at gold versus the dollar, and I said, well, if we get to that stage where stagflation is a real risk. Now, I'm not certain if we're not overdone on oil. My opinion is there is a chance that we've gone into that rampant speculative stage. But if we haven't, let's say we haven't, and there's still price shocks to come, then I think we're going to see gold become the safe haven of preference. But it also means that the policymakers, their monetary policy and fiscal policy become largely blunted because of stagflation. If they become blunted, okay, well, that changes our whole thesis, or at least my whole thesis that I've been running with for the last few months, is that if the US dollar is starting to strengthen, okay, does the Bitcoin or Ethereum, does the numerator factor in here, or is the US dollar going to be so strong that it's going to overwhelm? Well, the counter argument holds there as well. If the monetary policy and fiscal policy is starting to become blunted, because fighting stagflation is nigh on impossible, policymakers basically have to wait for the markets to self-correct, which is a very painful process, by the way, because the way that the markets tend to correct is via the labor market. In other words, unemployment tends to increase. This is neoclassical economics. The adjustment tends to take in replacing the labor market, which of course is exceptionally detrimental to the incumbent government, because they're the ones that take the blame. But there's very little that any government will be able to do. So the idea here is, if there is that sort of situation, well, then the counter argument is, well, the US dollar then becomes largely blunted, and all of a sudden, Ethereum, Bitcoin become the dominant variable in this ratio. Isn't that fascinating? Isn't that fascinating? So over 1 week, Anna, over 1 week, the actual thesis is potentially evolving as well. So we're going to have to keep a very, very close eye on this. Just going to read a few more comments here. I think Putin thought he could march in like the Russians did in Hungary and Prague to put down the protests. I think in my opinion, I mean, there has been a miscalculation here, but who cares sort of what I think? It's an exceptionally dangerous situation. It really is heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. I think the Ukrainians are doing a superb job, but it's just they're facing overwhelming odds. It's terribly sad. Katie, if I don't mind answering, what instruments are you trading now? Katie, I'm actually neutral at the moment. I don't have anything on, so I'm happy to answer that. But personally, I haven't got anything on at the moment. All right. Any other questions there, guys? By the way, Katie, it's not because I don't want to. I may find some sort of opportunities, but at the moment, I am neutral. Anna's saying people are sending cryptos to help the people of Ukraine. Yeah. All right. I think we can wrap up here, guys. Howard, so would one look at the 1 hour or 4 hour charts to see what's going to happen in terms of directional change? I don't think it really matters, Howard. I think the key here is not the shorter term timeframes. I think the key here is the longer term timeframes. What I think you should be looking at is this level here. Okay, I think this is the level that you've got to have a, in other words, do we get the higher peak? That's the big question mark. Once we get that higher peak, it changes the technical shape completely. Katie, I've actually ended the US Open. It's just the way that my workload has changed. So we're doing in the mornings, I've changed the webinar from the DAX Open to the morning market commentary. So it's generally just, and then every Wednesday we'll do a crypto minute as well. All right, guys, I'm going to ask for any last questions. Yes, we are having a non-farm payroll Friday. It actually is set up. I've already set it up. I will send out the link. What's today? It's Wednesday. It's a bit late. Send it out tomorrow. Just before we leave, let me just give you guys the non-farm payroll live trade link. Okay, it's in the chat. So if you guys want to join on Friday, just go ahead, click on that link in the chat, and it'll take you to the registration. All right, guys. Thank you, Zanetta. Much appreciated. All right, guys. Have a great day. If you need to get hold of me, you've got my email address. Thanks, guys, and speak to you all soon.